I think that Shanghai though kind of has a special place for me. What are your next stops? What are your destinations for next year in the world? What travel plan do you see clearly with the 2020 vision? First, the big new destination in 2020. The tone of the message otherwise was very aggressive, but it is an interesting question. Hi lovely humans. As you can see, I'm chilling. I have my tea. I'm just relaxing. This is going to be a chat, or rather this is going to be a Q&A. As I did the year before that, I'm going to do an end of the year Q&A, even though technically now it's already January. I asked you guys on Instagram a couple of months ago to send me your questions, and I received lots of interesting ones, and so I'm going to get into it. But first, for those of you who don't know me and who somehow stumbled on this video, hi, I'm Clara. I'm French, I'm 22 years old, and I make content about travel, life abroad, expatriation. I've lived in China, I've lived in Paris, I've lived in San Francisco. So that's the background. Yeah, and in this Q&A, so I try to order the questions around a bit, and I'm gonna start with answering questions about specific places I've traveled to and travel recommendation. Then I have questions that are about my plans for 2020. Then I have some questions about being bi, because if you don't know me, that's a thing, I'm bisexual. And then at the end I have a pretty serious question that I think was asked kind of to provoke me, but I find really interesting, so I do really want to answer that. So I'm currently editing this video. This is Editing Clara. Just popping in to say that I look super tired in this video. Like, I don't think I've ever been like that low energy. I feel like it was a combination of, so I'm living in an Airbnb right now, so I didn't want to be too loud, but also I was very exhausted of a very big day and very big events happening right now in my life. Events that I'm going to be discussing in the rest of this video. But yeah, just to say, please excuse the relatively low level of energy throughout this video. I have everything on my phone. Yes, I know, I'm super original, and let's get into it. So the first question is, which country was most fun to live in, was most fun to travel through? Most fun to live in, I feel like I've had fun everywhere I've lived. I think that Shanghai though kind of has a special place for me. Was like a very fun place to live in because of how much things you can do all the time. Yeah, I really like living in Shanghai, but also I live there as an exchange student, so that's like a particular type of lifestyle. So my feeling that it was for me the most fun to live in might not apply. And then the most fun to travel through, I had lots of fun in lots of different countries and places. I feel like the US is a lot of fun to travel through because it's so big and you can have like really like adventure type of thing. I've also had lots of fun traveling in Berlin. So that's not a country. I've had lots of fun traveling to Germany in general, but Berlin specifically has like everything you want, I feel, kind of to just have like a fun vacation, because you have all the arts and all the food and all the clubs, and like I feel like you can find a bit of everything, which I like. What places have you visited that's really underrated? In Europe, Poland. Poland has some very, very cute cities and like some gorgeous architecture, some really good art, and yeah, I feel like Poland is underrated. Other places that are underrated, like most of China really. When I hear people talk about traveling to Asia, they kind of never seem to think about China. Like, I don't want to like advertise like it's not for everyone, but like there are some really, really cool places and it seems like no one talks about them. Best experience on dating apps: China, France, or the US? I mean, I met my girlfriend in the US. I don't know if I feel like I'm very biased, but yeah, my dating app experience in China was pretty limited. Like, I looked around, but I wasn't actually really looking to meet anyone, and dating apps in China were very much a weird thing. And as for France, it's just, yeah, I've had good experience on there. But there are less people, less variety. Well, like, I felt, especially, I mean, in the US where I live, so San Francisco, everyone was on there. Just like almost every single damn person is on an app, so you can meet really all type of people looking for all type of thing, and I find that quite cool. Your travel recommendations for LGBTQ plus people? I would probably recommend in Asia to visit Taiwan, because Taiwan is, on top of being like the first Asian country to legalize same-sex marriage, it's like a lot more gay friendly than other places, and it's really fun. And then in Europe, the Netherlands seems to me like a very LGBTQ friendly place. I've only traveled to Amsterdam, but really it seems very welcoming. Berlin also definitely somewhere I can recommend for LGBTQ people, and San Francisco, where I've lived, though I have made a whole video about the pros and the cons of the LGBT scene in San Francisco, so if you're interested, don't hesitate to check that out. Then we have all the questions about my travel goals for 2020. What are your next stops? What are your destinations for next year in the world? What travel plan do you see clearly with that 2020 vision? First, the big new destination in 2020. You might have noticed this is a different environment. I have just moved to London. So yeah, that's a new country to add on the list of places I've moved to. Yeah, my first big travel destination of 2020 was actually a whole ass move. I mean, no, I started 2020 in the US. I was in Nevada. I've just moved to London, so that's like my big thing. I don't really have many travel plans because I'm gonna be spending 6 months here. I really want to make the most of it. I will probably try to travel somewhere in England. I really want to visit Scotland at some point, so I will love if I can just go to Scotland and explore a bit. I will probably go to Canada again at some point. Yeah, those are the plans for now. What are your personal goals for 2020? So, my personal goals for 2020, that's a big question. I haven't really thought about it. Like, I kind of implicitly know it, you know, like I kind of have it in the back of my mind. But if I were to phrase it, I think I want to keep working on myself, on my self-acceptance, on my self-love. Something that has been brought to my attention is that I tend to talk very negatively about myself. I don't talk to myself in a nice way, and I need to be as courteous towards myself as I am towards other people. I need to extend the same sympathy to myself. I also want to continue using less plastic, producing less waste as much as possible, and continuing to try to be more minimalist in my life. Oh, and I'm gonna graduate, and that's very cool. Yeah, I'm gonna hopefully graduate with my master's degree. How and when did you decide to travel so much? I'm very interested in your lifestyle. Well, thank you. I don't know exactly when I decided to travel so much. I was always drawn to it, like even as a child. I was very enthusiastic about going and seeing the world. I remember when I was 14, I really wanted to go travel / live in Japan, and I think that's when it really like kind of started. Like my fascination for Japan kind of led me on the path of being like, oh, I want to live there. I want to consider living in other countries, and then kind of snowballed into me doing all of that and traveling to like, I don't know how many countries at point, like 17 I think, and to now moving to another country again, my third move abroad. Oh, and the one question in French is related. Tu fais quelles études pour pouvoir autant voyager? What like path of studies did you do to travel so much? So I am a student at Sciences Po. Je suis étudiante à Sciences Po Paris. Donc je viens de finir mon master à Sciences Po Paris. Donc être étudiante à Sciences Po, ça veut dire que pendant ma 3e année de licence de bachelor, on a une année obligatoire à l'étranger. C'est là où je suis partie pendant 1 an en Chine, à Shanghai. Donc c'était dans le cadre de Sciences Po. Ensuite, j'ai choisi de faire une année de césure entre mon M1 et mon M2. Et dans le cadre de mon année de césure, je voulais avoir une expérience à l'étranger, donc j'ai trouvé un stage à San Francisco. Et là, actuellement, je fais mon stage de fin d'études, mon stage de fin de master, de fin de M2. Et c'est dans le cadre de ce stage de fin de master que là, maintenant, je viens de déménager à Londres. Donc voilà, ce sont les études qui m'ont permis de voyager autant, c'est Sciences Po. Je n'en ai jamais vraiment parlé sur cette chaîne. Je sais que j'ai déjà été reconnue par quelqu'un parce que j'ai fait des vidéos pour Sciences Po, enfin pas pour Sciences Po mais pour une association dont je suis partie à Sciences Po. Je pense qu'à un moment donné je ferai des vidéos sur Sciences Po parce que ça peut intéresser des gens. Could you see yourself become a full-time YouTuber or a full-time traveler? So those are actually two different questions, let's be real. Becoming a full-time YouTuber, no. No. That's just not a thing I am envisioning at all for my life. I have lots of things that I'm interested about to do as a job that don't involve YouTube. Like, this is a hobby, this is fun. I don't want it as a job, it's not gonna be one I feel like it would be unhealthy for me to have YouTube as a job. I've become a full-time traveler though. Again, I feel like moving from places to places in like a nomadic way probably doesn't fit the type of career I want to have, but it's not completely excluded that at one point I will just drop everything and do that. But what I think is most likely to happen is, in an ideal world, I would want to like kind of spend my life moving from places to places, living in lots of different countries, exploring lots of different cultures, working in lots of different places. Should I call myself bi if I'm mostly straight/gay? So I regrouped like a bunch of questions I received in one, because a few months ago I made a story on Instagram on being bi and I received lots of interesting questions, and since then I've been having those conversations on Instagram. So yeah, if you want to chat with me, that's like the place to go. Yeah, and I've been having those conversations and I've received lots of questions of people being like, so I'm mostly attracted to opposite sex, but then sometimes a bit of same sex. Can I, but like I've never really done anything with the same sex, can I say I'm bi? Or opposite, like I've done mostly things with the same gender, I'm mostly attracted to the same gender, but then sometimes like an opposite gender person slips in there. Am I bi? And my answer is, should you call yourself bi? No, you should never call yourself anything. You have the right to label yourself, to identify however you want. You don't have to even have a label if you want. So there's no you should, but you absolutely can. You're allowed. An important thing to remember is almost no bi person is 50-50, like half attracted to same gender, half to opposite gender. Also, like that implies that there's nothing in between, but that's another debate. But no one is like really just half and half. We are all on the spectrum. Like sexuality exists on the spectrum, bisexuality exists on the spectrum. You can identify as bi wherever you are on that spectrum. If you have some attractions to more than one gender, here you go, you're bi. I mean, you can't be bi if you feel like it, you know, labels, complicated. As a bi person, would you date a trans person? Yes. I mean, I'm currently in a relationship, so I would not date someone else than my current girlfriend, but if I was single, and when I was single, yes. Oh, and the last question, and I really like this question, okay. Are you comfortable polluting so much by traveling? So the person who sent me this did not mean that question in a nice way. The tone of the message otherwise was very aggressive, but it is an interesting question because I've traveled quite a bit. Yeah, so as I said, I was just in the US, then I was in France for a couple of days, and now I moved to London, and I've been to Canada a few months ago. So that means I take planes. So I do pollute by traveling, like that's a fact. I do. And as I've said earlier in this video, some of my personal goals are reducing waste, using less plastic. For those of you who've watched more of my content, you might know that I'm vegetarian. Like, I care quite a bit about the environment. That's like a concern of mine. So, am I comfortable polluting so much? I don't know. You know what? Sometimes it's okay to admit that you don't know. I feel like I try to travel and pollute as less as possible while traveling, which means that as often as possible I will take trains. When I'm in a new city, I don't take cars, I take buses, I take public transportation. I try to minimize basically my CO2 emission, but I do still take planes, and that's a fact. What does that mean? Does that mean that if you care about the environment, you can't travel? I don't know. What I do know though is that there is a type of like all or nothing mentality. If you care about the environment, you need to just cut everything that hurts the environment. And the thing is, in today's society, that's hard. And I feel like we should all do our parts. Which is also why I'm not, like, I try not to be that preachy vegetarian that's like in people's faces about it. Like, I made a personal choice that I feel is right. Some other people will agree with me that reducing meat consumption is good for helping the planet, but they don't want to cut that. And I get it. I feel like we should all try to work in our own level on what we can do to pollute less. I'm not perfect. You're free to criticize me for how I choose to live. As long as you do something, as long as you try in some way, that's okay. So this is all for this Q&A. I think it's quite long, so thank you for watching until the end. Thank you to the more than 500 subscribers. Thank you guys. If you have things that you want to comment on, like, please leave comments. I would be really happy to chat with you down below. You can also send me a message on Instagram and we can chat more there. If you follow me on Instagram, you will also be able to see all my wonderful pictures of my travels and see my stories and have more like regular updates of my new life in London. I will make like videos dedicated to London pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. If you're interested, subscribe, and yeah, thank you for watching and see you soon. Yeah.